The price of silver dropped the most in years, even more than last Friday's huge drop. Now on Tuesday, the price of silver has dropped over 8%. For what reason did this happen, and why should we be positive about the future of silver and its price? Let's look around. Yes, it has been a huge bloodbath red for all the metals. The price of silver has completely dropped today. There's no other way to say it. The fall has been very strong, but this kind of behavior is kind of what we should expect. But, it never seems to go up as much as it does when it goes down. That's why this is merging. This is a huge sell-off. This is an example of panic selling. It's clear that the markets are in a panic mode because people are selling and getting profits. So this doesn't really surprise us in some ways. What happened with the valuable metal prices right before they closed? This is the story of the tape. 53% of gold's value has been lost, or $4,125, which is $232.10. Gold is still more than $4,100. Silver, on the other hand, is down 7.4%, and gold is doing very well. Gold is now $48.57, down $3.88. It went way over the $50 price mark. But I believe we will see it again, and I think we'll see it again soon, everyone. Platinum, palladium, and rhodium were also hit. Palladium was hit the hardest, falling 6.27%, and gold platinum fell over 5%. People, now is a good time to buy. Now is a good time to look and see because of these big beatings. Summit Metals is one of the few places I haven't checked, but I think they'll be very fair. But check them out and see if Summit Metals has any deals for you. Also, click on the link in the next sentence to see how great their customer service is. Tell them Uncle Sal sent you. Silver is one of those metals that changes a lot. This kind of behavior shouldn't come as a surprise either. In fact, I was a little surprised that it fell so much today. But really, what's going on here? I'm going to talk about two pieces. One, this is a pretty interesting view of what's going on and why the prices of gold and silver are dropping so quickly. This is writing by Brian O'Connell. We can see that buyers in commodities have made a lot of money in 2025. Gold and silver have been especially good for protecting portfolios, and I've said many times on this show that 2025 has been too good for us so far. And times like this are normal. Again, this is one of those things that just happens, so we have to roll with it. Today we got punched hard. The value of gold has gone up about 56% in the last year. As of now, the standard SPDR Gold Shares ETF shows that gold is up 60% so far this year. But keep in mind that it's not an increase in value. The price has gone up. You can figure out how much something is worth by its price, but there's something more than that. Silver has gone up even more. 78.4% so far this year and 62.6% in the last year. But in the past week, both gold and silver have gone down in value. Gold has lost 2% and silver has lost 5%. Of course, that was before. Of course, we saw that it fell more than 8% today, which was a lot worse, and buyers have changed how much precious metal they own. Daniela Sabine Hawthorne, a senior market expert at Capital.com, says that the price rise in gold and silver seems to have stopped at the beginning of the week. Given where both markets were, the trade had become very crowded and was running a little hot, so turnaround is not completely out of the blue. That's why Hawthorne told buyers in commodities not to freak out about gold and short-term problems just yet. Both gold and silver were ready for a drop, so today there will definitely be a lot of people taking their money back. Things that are important haven't changed, though. Long-term support is still in place, but the recent rally has been stronger than it should have been, which means there is a chance of a deeper drop when news of good trade moves comes out. Gold and silver prices have changed in the last week for more than one reason. One reason is that there's a surprise. Even though the prices of gold and silver are going down, last week the Shanghai Exchange raised the balance requirements. This caused a sell-off that spread around Asia and the world, especially in the futures market. We can tell that some of the current rise has been driven by speculation because of how steep the retracements are. Another reason for silver's rise is a lack of actual supply, especially around the LBMA. This problem hasn't gone away much yet, which could be making investors nervous. Elliott says that a deep sell-off as weaker hands and traders get shook up wouldn't be a surprise, but I'm not sure that would stop a rally driven by a lack of supply. The tensions between the US and China are affecting other metals markets as well, but they haven't stopped platinum yet. Australia has made some deals for rare earths. Also, I think that's a big change. That might have had something to do with some of this. But Kitco also reports on the huge changes in the prices of gold and silver, which is getting a lot of attention because those prices dropped the most in one day in 4.5 years. Analysts say that the prices of both valuable metals can go down and that both markets are still strong and have long-term upward trends. That's what we're seeing happen there. The selling pressure started when the London market opened and hasn't let up during the North American trading session. Some experts say that the selling pressure in gold and silver was caused by rising concerns about the U.S. government's trade war with China and record stock prices in Japan's Nikkei 225 index. Others say this is mostly technical selling because the market has been going up at an exponential rate. According to experts at TD Securities, the reason why gold prices are falling is because people are taking profits. Our reading of location screens was very strong in a lot of ways. No matter what, algos won't buy more. Leverage and risk parity in vol control funds is close to what makes sense. It's possible that macro funds are full of over-the-counter risks. The bid from the central bank is down a lot. There are no problems with the central bank buying things. China is still on a buyer strike, and stores are taking part. Making money has a long way to go. That could very well mean that there are people who want to buy stopping you. You can sell, though. Someone said something about this in my film earlier today. This morning, I made a film about gold that was talked about on late-night talk shows. Fawad Rasak-Zada, a market expert for City Index and Forex, wrote in a note released Tuesday that today's sell-off was always likely because of how big this year's rally was. Some people might ask, what took so long? Since so many people have been buying lately, buyers have finally started to cash out after the record-breaking run, whether they wanted to or not. It's finally time for some real selling pressure after a long time of one-way flow because people were taking profits and long-side liquidations. That is true. Also, I want to say that taking profits is a normal part of the market that we should all think about. Yes, the free market is thought to be mostly at work here. Some people may also say, well, there may also be some activity that is suppressing. That's not off the table for me. But it will be interesting to see how much paper silver changed hands today compared to Friday, when about 977 million ounces changed hands. In this way, how much more could be moved? But of course, it's just paper silver and not real silver. As I said in some of these pieces, though, remember that the basics of metal haven't changed. Let's not forget that silver is still in a good place. I believe we will talk about $50 silver again, and soon. At this point, I don't think there will be much more selling pressure, but it might ease off or level off a bit. But don't forget that the Fed meeting is coming up. It's likely that they'll cut rates by another quarter point. I don't think they'll cut a half point at this meeting. I haven't looked at the probability figures for that in a while. However, there is still other action going on. There are also other global worries out there. Trump and Putin have yet to set a date to meet. And things got a little worse in Gaza again before the truce was restored. How long will that last? I'm not sure. Still, that's not talked about much as we try to keep things calm in Gaza and watch what's happening in Lebanon. Some bombs have gone off there in the last week or so. Still, there is still a lot of doubt in the world. There is also still inflation, of course. Also, don't forget that the Federal Reserve is still adding to the M2 money pool. It's quantitative easing done the wrong way. Also, there is still a backwardation state with silver. The gap between the futures price and the spot price of silver is about $1. That means the LBMA is probably still under some pressure since silver is still being moved to close the gap. I believe it will. Things should get back to normal, which might keep prices stable for a while. But I think that level of stability will stay above $40. I know it sounds crazy to say that now, since the price is still $48.59 and the markets are about to close. That's where we are now, though. Plus, I really believe that we're still doing pretty well if we can keep prices above $45. I still believe we will talk about $50 again before the end of the year. That's how I feel about it. Feel free to tell me what you think in the area below. I hope this movie was interesting, helpful, and educational for you. Thank you so much for watching, and please rate, share, review, and subscribe.